excited to introduce to you a new initiative hosted by the House of God Church called Vivid Vision. Vivid Vision is a series of webinars and learning sessions designed to empower and equip members of our great church. The Bible says in all of our getting, we should get an understanding, and without a vision, the people perish. So with that, be sure to join us for Vivid Vision.
Good morning, good morning, good morning. Welcome back, everyone. Thank you for joining us for today's webinar. My name is Eshane Lee, and I am the moderator of our Vivid Vision webinar series. Today, we're presenting Budget and Understanding and Knowing Your Budget, presented by Mr. Clint Story. Just a few housekeeping rules before we get started. This webinar will be a little different because there will be a two-part segment presented. And after each one, there will be a question and answer period. So if you have any questions during the first presentation, please do not hesitate to type them in the chat. Even if you forget, there will be a second part to where you can also type those questions in the chat. And we will be here to answer all questions throughout this presentation. You know, before we get started, we love to invite God in with the word of prayer. Let us please pray. God, we thank you, we thank you, we thank you for waking us up today. We thank you for this opportunity for us to learn. God, as we go through this webinar series, please brighten our minds on the subject topics that is presented to us, God. Right now, we know that we are in this holiday season. Please keep us safe as we travel, as we spend time with our families, God. God, with this, we say amen. We want to thank our sponsor, Citizen Bank. Now, Citizen Bank, they are strengthening the communities where we live and work. That's what Citizens Helping Citizens is all about. Now, listen, we've been in this Vivid Vision series. It has been going great. It has been going great, and it's been so awesome. We know that we started off with grief to gratitude. We know that we started off with your road to home ownership. And today we're talking about a subject that has plagued families for years, and that is budgeting. We all need that budgeting help. I want you to know that we will be continuing this Vivid Vision process, and for you to sign up for the webinars that is to come, we want you to go to www.hogc.org. Now, without further ado, I want to introduce to you our presenter on today. Mr. Clint Story is the Vice President of Business Relations with Citizens Bank in Nashville, Tennessee. It was founded in 1904. Citizens Bank is the oldest continuously owned and operated African-American owned bank in the United States. Collectively, Mr. Story has spent nearly 20 years of his banking career with Citizens Bank. During his Citizens Bank career, Mr. Story has managed a portfolio of commercial clients in Middle Tennessee and West Tennessee. Mr. Story has consistently recognized and met the financial needs of small businesses, nonprofit companies, churches, and government entities. Additionally, Mr. Story is very passionate about providing financial education, especially in low to moderate income communities. Throughout his career, he has conducted numerous financial empowerment seminars on small business lending, church financial management, personal budgeting, understanding and knowing your credit, and financial literacy. Mr. Story holds a Bachelor's of Arts degree in Business Administration with a concentration in finance from the historic Morehouse College in Atlanta, Georgia. He also holds a Graduate School of Banking degree from Louisiana State. as well as certifications from numerous courses on commercial banking, leadership, and team building. Without further ado, I introduce to you Mr. Clint Story. Welcome, Mr. Story. It is so exciting to have you here with us today.
Good morning, Brother Lee. It's an honor and a pleasure to be here with you. Thank you for inviting Citizens Bank to be a part of this incredible occasion. I first want to acknowledge, of course, Bishop Butler as a tremendous leader of the House of God Church, Keith Dominion, and I want to acknowledge Deaconess Nova Walker Carter and Elder Tammy Butler Robinson, who were instrumental in our being able to be here with you today.
That is great. Okay, it's on you. We're ready. We're ready.
Okay, thank you. Good morning, everybody. It's an honor and a pleasure again to be here with you today. I commend you for taking time out of your incredibly busy schedules on a Saturday morning to learn more about how to improve your financial health. As it was noted, Citizens Bank is the oldest African-American owned bank in the country, and this is a ministry for us, providing financial education in our community, bridging the wealth gap between our communities and others. And so we're very passionate to take Saturday mornings, weekday evenings to be able to educate our people. It was noted that we're in Nashville. Actually, we're in North Nashville. We're right next to the local House of God Church, Keith Dominion, here on Hyman Street. That's where I am right now at our corporate headquarters, 1917 Hyman Street. The bank's main office is at 21st and Jefferson, which is, of course, right around the corner near the headquarters at 28th and Ed Temple on Hyman. And so we're in the heart of North Nashville, in the House of God Church, Keith Dominion, TSU, Fisk, Meharry. So this is the heartbeat of our community where we are today. We're going to first begin by going through understanding knowing your credit. First slide, please. It just indicates welcoming everybody here today to receive this very important and beneficial financial education. Next slide, please. The title of today's session is Financial Wisdom. I really commend House of God Church Keith Dominion for having these series, and I figured the perfect title would be to entitle it Financial Wisdom, which is what we're going to do to educate and empower our attendees today. Next slide, please. We're going to have two parts, as Brother Lee mentioned. We're going to first go through understanding knowing your credit, and then we'll take questions right after that. So again, please put your questions in the chat so we can address them. And then we'll next go to budgeting and have a section for questions at the conclusion of that portion as well. Understanding knowing your credit. Next slide, please. What is credit? Credit is an agreement to deliver something of value, goods, services before payment is received. The power to buy or borrow on faith. The right granted by a creditor to defer payment or to purchase property or services and defer payment on them. Your credit follows you wherever you go, and it can have a tremendous impact on the comfort level of your life, the stress in your life. Next slide, please. Why is credit so important? Your credit report serves as your financial references to companies with whom you want to do business. So this could be if you're looking to apply for an automobile loan, if you're looking to apply for a mortgage loan, if you are looking to apply for any sort of credit at a retailer, your credit report indicates your willingness to repay in a timely manner and the likelihood that you can repay in a timely manner. Lenders use credit reports to determine the likelihood that you repay your loan in a timely manner. Independent of what I mentioned earlier as it relates to applying for loans, credit reports are also used in other non-lending situations, such as employment checks, apartment rental applications, etc. Over the last several years, this has been a big one. A lot of people didn't realize that when you're applying to lease an apartment, a credit report is pulled on you. Additionally, in the last few years, we found that utility companies pull credit reports as well. and determine whether you should be able to get your utilities turned on based upon whether you've been paying the utilities at your prior apartment in a timely manner. So again, independent of lending, your credit worthiness follows you everywhere, even when you're looking to apply for an apartment, obtain utilities, etc. Next slide, please. What is your FICO score? Your FICO score is what determines, again, your ability and willingness to pay. And it's broken down into 5 sections. The first one with the largest percentage is your payment history. Some of you that may have seen your credit report in the past know that your credit report breaks down as to whether you have any 30, 60, or 90-day past due payments. And of course, the more 30 and over, 60 and over, and God forbid 90 over payments that you have, it impacts your credit history and your credit score. So as you see, 35% of your FICO score is determined by your payment history. Second is the amounts owed. That's 30%. As an example, and we'll talk further about this as we get into the session, you can be paying your debts historically in a timely manner. But creditors also look at the amount of debt that you have, because that can speak to the likelihood that if you have a blip along the way, you're going to have trouble paying your obligation. As an example, a very big one is credit cards. You may have shown the ability to pay your credit cards in a timely manner, have no 30-day or more past dues, but let's suppose you've got $10, $20, $50,000 in credit cards and you're only making the minimum payment. While yes, you're not viewed negatively because you're paying it on time, but your credit score is compromised because you have so much outstanding debt and so much outstanding availability of debt with those credit cards. So as you see, payment history and amounts owed, that's 65% of your credit score. So thus that really drives the score and whether you can receive credit or not, or be able to rent an apartment, etc. Number 3, length of credit history, 15%. I get this type of question a lot. I don't have any credit. It's not established. Well, length of credit history is important in the sense that if you have not obtained credit and you've only had it out there for a year or two, that can affect the level of your score up to 15%. So again, not to the level of payment history or amounts owed, but length of credit history is important. Back to my point I just made a moment ago about inquiries as to I can't establish credit if I can't get credit. A great way to look at amending that is to have a cash secured loan. Let's say while you're young and in college or in your early years, just borrowing $500 secured by cash and paying it back in a timely manner. That can help build credit for you, the right type of credit. Number 4 is new credits, 10%. So what does that mean? And this is the best example I always use for that. You don't want to go out and look to purchase a car, be able to go out and get a credit card from Best Buy, from Dillard's, from Walmart, etc., and have all these new credit obligations on your credit report, because that can weaken your score as well. Again, it's not as impactful as your payment history or amounts owed, but when your credit score is pulled, if you've recently gotten several new credit cards issued and you've bought a car, that can compromise your credit report as well. Then lastly, types of credit used, 10%. That goes back to the earlier point. It is fine to have credit that speaks to a mortgage or a car, but staying away from credit cards, staying away from a number of retailers that give you credit cards, types of credit used is 10% of your score. So collectively, this is your 100% that arrives to your FICO score. The most significant portion, again, being your payment history and amounts owed. Next slide, please. Your credit score ranges from 375 to 900. Ideally, you want to get your credit score to a point that's 700 or more. The lower your credit score, the less likely that you're going to be approved for credit or be approved to rent an apartment. Additionally, if you are approved for credit and your score is, let's say, 640, 630 and under, let alone down in the 500s. If it is approved, then you end up having much higher interest rates. I'm going to distinguish two different lanes here. You can apply for a car loan, and unless you've unfortunately filed bankruptcy recently, you can probably get your car loan approved. But the interest rate and the term of your car loan is greatly impacted by what your credit score is. So again, the higher the credit score, the better. On the mortgage side, as some of you may have learned, you really don't want your score to be any lower than 640 to be able to qualify for a conventional mortgage or FHA mortgage. So again, the range 375 to 900, you want to try to get it to 700 or greater, and definitely no lower than 640. There are three credit reporting agencies: Equifax, Experian, and TransUnion. When you are applying for an automobile loan, or you're applying for, let's say, a retailer's credit card, they may just pull from one of these credit reporting agencies. However, when you apply for a mortgage loan, you have what's called a tri-merge, and the mortgage company pulls a credit report from all three of these entities, and then your aggregate of the three is what your credit score is. Sometimes there could be a little difference here or there, but again, the aggregate between the three is how you arrive at your credit score. A FICO score, lastly, is also known as a beacon score or empirical score. Just like your Social Security number follows you everywhere you go, your FICO score follows you everywhere you go as it relates to applying for credit, trying to obtain apartments, etc. Next slide, please. Please take these down, or in today's time, take a picture of the screen. These are the three primary credit reporting agencies and their respective phone numbers. You see Equifax, Experian, and TransUnion. All three of those entities, you can get a credit report for minimal charge. I believe right now it's maybe $25 or less. You can also go to freecreditreport.com. I caution that if you go to freecreditreport.com, it can give you a pretty good snapshot of what's on your credit report and the level of performance that you've shown up via your credit. But freecreditreport.com is not as exact as getting a credit report from one of the three reporting agencies. So again, it's well worth it to spend the $20, $25 to get an actual credit report with the score. And the credit reporting agency credit reports are going to go into greater detail than freecreditreport.com. You'll see on a subsequent slide, but I'll make this note now.
Just wanted to let you know that we are having some technical difficulties and Mr. Story will be coming right back. But as we do understand that he was talking about knowing your credit, there have been some questions that have come up in regards to knowing your credit that Mr. Story is going to answer within this first segment that he's been covering. So far, it's been so educational, learning about the credit score, learning about the percentages of your credit, especially dealing with payment history, amounts owed, credit history, new credit, credit use. These are things that we all could learn from to better our credit situation, no matter whether you're at 375 or even if you're at 700. We can always learn something that could get us in a better standing with our credit. A couple of things that he is going to go over with the questions. What I'm looking at is just to put this on the table for when he gets back. How are creditors handling the impact of COVID as it relates to evictions and loss of employment? We do understand that COVID has presented itself as a troubling situation within almost every household in America, dealing with unemployment, dealing with financial restraints, dealing with changing the way you live within your own means. So a lot of us had to wind up cutting ourselves back from just whether we were overspending, whether we were just spending just because, but we've been able to do that. Just wanted to let you know also in this moment, as we're waiting for him to come back, there will be a survey that will be sent out to you all. Please fill the survey out. It is very important that we continue this Vivid Vision series and we keep it going so we can provide the best topics for you all. We have Mr. Story back right now. Mr. Story.
Okay. Yes, thank you. I apologize. And especially during this season, you have to be patient with the technology challenges. So I apologize.
No problem. We are ready. You had us hanging. We were hanging on the edge. We are ready.
Okay. The next slide, please go to ways to increase your FICO score. Next slide, please. Okay. These are the ways in which you can improve your credit score that we're emphasizing is so important. One, first and foremost, pay your obligations on time. That sounds simple, but let me give you an example of how that can be challenging for some. A lot of us know that, as I said earlier, you don't want to go 30 days or over. If that's the case, it is compromise your credit score and you have a 30-day past due being shown. But what you don't want to do is try to make your payments right on the 20th, 29th day of the month. If your payment is due on the 1st, don't mail a payment on the 20th. Who knows what will happen with the mail? It may not get there on time. I recommend paying all your bills electronically, whether it's on the due date or within your grace period. That way it gets credited on time. So again, do not try to wait till the end of that 30-day period to make your payment because it may go over 30 days, compromise your credit report. Secondly, use credit wisely. We know the importance of being able to have good credit to qualify for a mortgage, be able to qualify for a vehicle loan, etc. The key piece of using credit wisely is a couple of things. Credit cards, and not only using credit cards, but using credit cards for things that aren't critical. I always say, and I get caught up myself, when you're walking around shopping in Best Buy, if you can't afford to pay for it with cash, you don't need to buy a computer on credit, TV on credit, washing machines, etc. on credit. Because again, as I noted earlier, you're adding to not only your credit load, but the type of credit you have, having those types of credit cards or obligations with retailers, that can compromise your credit as well. So use credit wisely. Number 3, limit credit inquiries. The more inquiries you have, it can weaken your credit score. As another good example is when you're going to shop for a car, especially in the world today where you can go online and do research on a vehicle, there's no need to go to 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 car dealerships, fill out an application, because all they're going to do is pull a credit report, and that weakens your credit score. Do your research as to what vehicle you may want to purchase by doing all your homework online, then go to that particular dealership, sign when you know you want to look to purchase that car, only have that one inquiry. Additionally, and I keep going back to this, when you are shopping online or you're going to shop at the mall, don't go and apply for all of these various credit cards. That increases your inquiries as well. Even if you end up not using a credit card for whatever reason, that inquiry can weaken your credit score. As I said earlier, you have to review your credit at least on a quarterly basis to know what's out there, what's been reported, what's your credit score, has your credit been compromised in any way due to identity theft. And any of us that have had to deal with identity theft, it can greatly impact you. And you want to know about it sooner rather than later. I'll give a quick example. When I was able to be helped because I was working at Citizens Bank at the time, so I was able to work with our team to get it resolved quickly, but everybody doesn't have the benefit that I do. One time a few years ago, my credit got compromised and somebody had stolen my identity, and they were down in the Bahamas having a good time. I saw bills on there for restaurants, for flights, hotels, etc. And I didn't get the benefit of it because I was here in Nashville. But fortunately, I was able to get everything cleared up in a short amount of time via some persons that worked here at the bank. But it still took some time to get my credit score back up. So again, look at your credit score on a regular basis, at least quarterly. So not only can you know what your score is and how your credit looks, but to be sure that your score has not been compromised. Lastly, is time. And what I like to emphasize in this point is, even if you have a poor credit score and it's down in the low 600s, 500s, even if you filed bankruptcy, which I strongly recommend that you don't look to file bankruptcy, you try to get credit counseling and have that be a very last resort. But let's suppose you have filed bankruptcy. I always tell our people you can come back from poor credit, weak credit, or some bad decisions. Even if you have a very weak credit score and you have some charge-offs, you have some collections, if you begin to pay things on time, handle your credit responsibly, usually within about 2 to 3 years, your credit can be repaired and improve significantly enough so you can now obtain credit again. So whatever has occurred in the past, no matter how frustrated you are with what your experience may have been, just know that if you begin to do things decent in order now, do things the right way, time, as they say, heals all things, and time can heal your credit as well. So no matter where you are now, it can get better. Next slide, please. Standard credit versus alternative credit. Standard credit is what I've noted earlier: mortgages, vehicle loans, etc. Alternative credit is really what has negatively impacted our community over the last several years. And as an example, those are your payday loan companies or your title loan companies, and they permeate our community. It's all over our community right where we are in North Nashville, and they're predominantly in the African American community because it preys on our people that may not have been exposed to the best financial education, those of us that low to moderate income that are living paycheck to paycheck. And the payday loan companies have these big billboards and express that they can help you. But once you get a payday loan or you get a title loan, that cycle is incredibly difficult to get out of because those loans have incredibly high interest rates, 18, 25, 31, 32%. And once you get one, because it's so difficult to pay back, you have to borrow another $2,000 to pay off the loan you got, and you have this vicious cycle. So I highly recommend coming to your banker, coming to a credit counselor if you're in a compromising situation, borrowing money for a family member. Yes, that can present some challenges, I know, but do your best to stay away from payday loan companies and title loan companies, because once you go down that road, it is very difficult to come back from it. You probably have read over the last few years, there's a lot of legislation that's being discussed as to how to not have these types of companies charge such exorbitant interest rates. But that is still a lot back and forth with that. So that alternative credit of payday loans, title loan companies that are in our community, please do your very best to stay away from those types of credit obligations, because those are very, very challenging to come back from once you get that process started. That concludes the credit section. I would like to pause right now and see if there are any questions before we go to the next section, please.
Oh, yes. The question's been lighting up in the check box. First question: how are creditors handling the impact of COVID as it relates to evictions and loss of employment?
Excellent question. Excellent question. I'm sure that there's been a lot of things you've read and seen online about that. What I've found is the majority of creditors have been willing to work with persons that may have lost their jobs impacted by COVID. For example, at Citizens Bank, we did a lot of extensions for clients up to 90 days to 180 days to allow them to be able to get things stabilized until they were able to find employment during this COVID season. Uh, you will find that, of course, your non-traditional types of credit, those payday loans, title loan companies, were less willing to work with you. But the vast majority of banks, vast majority of mortgage companies were willing to work with you and provide extensions to be able to help you get through that season. I always say, Brother Lee, um, even though the banks get a bad reputation, a banker doesn't want your home. Banks are making money off of the interest that you're paying. So I always emphasize, whether it's during COVID season or during a more normal time when you're having challenges, reach out to your banker, reach out to your creditor, because they would much rather work with you, restructure the loan, give you an extension to help you through that period. Because the last thing they want to be is in the real estate business trying to sell your home, or be in the car business trying to repo and sell your car. But specifically during COVID, I did see that a lot of creditors, except for those alternative forms of credit, they were willing to work with those persons that were heavily impacted during this COVID season, sir.
Sounds good. I have one other question. If you have credit cards you're not using, should you close them or should you leave them open? And how would that affect your credit score?
Outstanding question. I was going to mention that in the budgeting section. That is so very important as well. Remember, I mentioned earlier the types of credit that you have, and even if you're paying it on time, how it can impact you. That's not only with high balances and you paying the monthly interest on the credit cards, but also available credit. So you shouldn't have more than 2 credit cards at the most. It's good to have a credit card for travel, hotel, etc., and then maybe one additional one for an emergency. But having Amex, Discover, Visa, we all love Sam Jackson, so we all got a Capital One card now. And then
Yeah.
you get a credit card from Best Buy, Home Depot, Lowe's,
Hmm.
all of those credit cards compromise your credit score. Not to the level of paying slow, but it does weaken your score because, again, you may have no balances, but if a creditor sees that you have 50, 75, 100,000 available credit, you're looked at as a greater risk because if challenges did occur, you could go out and run your credit score up. So no more than 2 credit cards. And if you have more than that, you should look at closing those out because they are weakening your credit score and your ability to obtain the actual real credit that's most important for a mortgage, vehicle loan, etc.
Oh, that's whoa. Okay.
Oh, you strike a nerve, Brother Lee.
I love that answer. That was an awesome answer. So at this point now, we're ready to transition right into our budgeting because that question kind of set us up for moving into that budgeting section that we really are excited to hear about at this moment. So it's back on you, Mr. Story.
Okay. Thank you, Brother Lee. Go to the next slide, please. The next slide. What is a budget? A budget is a record of the money that flows in and out of your household on a monthly basis. It's as simple as that. It is a record of the money that flows in and out of your household on a monthly basis. Next slide, please. Why budget? Budgeting is the first step on the road to financial success. Effectively and efficiently managing your household finances allows you and your family to more comfortably pay for your monthly household financial obligations and save money. This statement is so important. I mention all the time, and those in the audience and that are here with us today, I have learned over the years that one of the primary reasons that there are divorces in this country and that families may break up are due to money and the mishandling of money and not doing things decent in order with money. And fundamentally, it can start with not having a budget that you adhere to. So again, adhering to a budget can reduce financial stress on your household and allow you to handle your obligations in a more comfortable manner. Budgeting is incredibly critical, excuse me, and our people don't do as much of it as we should. Next slide, please. Core budgeting practices. On the left side, set realistic goals. And what I mean by that is, if you've never done a budget before, you first want to begin by laying out what all of your monthly expenses are, and then compare that to what your income is. Clearly, the most important piece is you want to have more income than expenses, but even better, you want to be in a situation where there is a greater level of income than expenses, and you can save money and begin to build up a surplus there. So you want to begin by laying out what all of your bills are. As they say, confront the brutal honesty and know everything that's outstanding, whether it be bills, whether it be groceries, etc., and then be able to set a goal based upon your income as to what your monthly budget should be. Second, you should plan monthly, quarterly, semi-annually, and annually. Yes, all of us have monthly expenses, but then there's sometimes annual expenses that you have to pay. For example, I think about my mother, who I'm still blessed to have with us. I'll work with her to budget her monies accordingly, so she's setting money to the side. So when that bill comes, she's able to pay it comfortably. And some of us have certain bills related to And we're back. I apologize for that again. But I just emphasize the importance of planning monthly, quarterly, semi-annually, and annually. Third on the left side is long-term planning, planning for retirement and college education. A number of us, we end up working well past 60, 65 Social Security age. We're working well into our 70s and sometimes 80s, not because we want to, but because we have to. And so not only do we need to plan and budget on a monthly, quarterly, semi-annual, and annual basis, but you want to get with a wealth advisor, financial consultant, and plan for your retirement, as well as your kids' college education. I have a niece now that's 13, and I play a critical role in her life, and she'll be in college the week after next. Time goes by very quickly. So if you're blessed to have children or young people that you are responsible for, the earlier you can begin planning for their college education, the better. I think we all know that what college cost 5-10 years ago is going up significantly year by year. And if you have a 5-year-old now, what it will cost to send he or she to college in 12-13 years will double or more than that, or go up more than that. So plan for college education as well. I noted already on the right side, plan according to your household income. Review your budget on a regular basis. This point is very important. A budget is only as good as how often you review it. You can lay out a budget this time of year in December, planning for the new year. But as you know, once you get into the new year, you may be blessed that your income goes up. So thus you need to be planning to save more money, or you may have an expense that has gone up. It may be, as an example, if you're blessed to have a mortgage, your property insurance goes up, and thus the amount you have to escrow has gone up, so your mortgage payment goes up. So you may have to adjust your budget accordingly. Your car may be running fine now, but your car may unfortunately have some issues in May or June, and you have to go out and get a car loan. And now you have to be able to pay for that car, of course, on a monthly basis. So thus you need to adjust your budget. So again, making a budget this time of year is great as you're starting the new year, but looking at your budget on a regular basis to see where you need to make adjustments is critical to be sure that you've got financial stability. The last point on core budgeting practices is make sure that the entire family understands the budget and that the budget is reasonable. This is obviously very important when you're dealing with a household where you have a husband and a wife. Everybody needs to be on the same page. If you know you're only supposed to spend X amount of dollars as it relates to entertainment, eating out, groceries, etc., both parties need to adhere to that. If you agree on a budget as a family, you don't need to deviate from that, because again, that can compromise the dollars flowing out of the household, but also lead to financial stress. So be sure the family is on board with the budget and then acts accordingly and adheres to the budget going forward. Next slide, please. What are the components of a budget? The fixed expenses that pretty much stay the same on a month-to-month basis: your rent or mortgage payment, your vehicle payment, and insurance premiums. I noted on the prior slide that your insurance premium may change from year to year as it relates to your home. It also may change as it relates to your automobile, as an example. But for the most part, even though those expenses change, those are set fixed expenses you have to pay on a monthly basis, and they don't deviate a great deal. Those are the most important components of your budget: rent, mortgage, vehicle, insurance premiums. Next slide, please. Variable expenses, utility bills. This is a big one here lately. Student loan payments. And no, you can't defer your student loan payments till you're 85 years old. At some point, you're going to have to begin paying it back and work out a sound payment plan with the government, your student loan provider. So student loan payments, from month to month, but they are critical components of your budget that you're setting as you are trying to, again, provide stability in your household. Next slide, please. My apologies. The components of a budget: essential expenses, those are all fixed expenses and certain variable expenses that we talked about on the prior slide. And then there are desirable expenses. These are the ones that can really get you into trouble. We talked about the critical expenses that are your mortgage, your rent, your utilities, groceries, etc. These desirable expenses are what can really get you in trouble: entertainment, brand new clothes, eating out 5 times a week, and the classic that got me in trouble, a 65-inch HD flat screen TV. These should not be critical components of your budget. entertainment, brand new clothes you really don't need, eating out more frequently than what you should, and then entertainment items like televisions. Those should not be critical parts of your budget on a monthly basis. Next slide, please. Pay yourself. This speaks to saving money. As I said earlier, in your budget, you want to not only lay out all of your essential expenses, but you also want to put money to the side and save as well. Next slide, please. Why should you save? Think about what life events have happened to you recently. Job loss. We were talking a few moments ago that job loss has been even greater during this very unprecedented COVID season. But job loss can occur at any particular time. And if you've not been saving money to help you as you're looking to see what your next move is going to be, it can greatly compromise your household financially. Car repairs. I had this occur a few weeks ago. I was leaving the house, went to the car didn't start. Wasn't sure what the issue was. Fortunately, called AAA, gave me a boost. I went down to the dealership and it was just a new battery. But you know, when you go to the dealership, they find other things that they recommend that you need to do. You have to determine what's critical and what can wait. But unexpected car repairs can compromise your finances as well. Thus, another critical reason to save money. Apartment or home improvement repairs. I'm dealing with this right now as well. Had an unfortunate pipe burst in my home. And fortunately, I've got pretty good insurance, but you got to pay the deductible on that. So while I'm working now with the contractor to work out a budget to get approved for the claim, you still have to pay the deductible. Well, I didn't expect for that couple of $1,000s to come out at any time, let alone right before Christmas. Fortunately, I'm blessed to have some money saved to be able to pay that. So unexpected apartment or home improvement repairs can impact you as well if you've not been saving money. Unexpected travel expenses. You may have to go visit a ill loved one. You may have a child that's in college and they have a need. You have to go see them suddenly. And we all know that renting a car at the last minute or booking an airplane at the last minute can greatly impact you as far as a cost standpoint. And number 5 is a big one that is impacted us all at some point: healthcare expenses. Even if you're blessed to have good health insurance, if you have a major health challenge that keeps you in the hospital for a longer period of time and you need treatments and the like, then those healthcare expenses and those bills keep coming. And if you have not had money held in reserve and saved, that can greatly compromise your household as well. So again, saving money is so critical. We always understand and respect that we preach and understand 10% going towards tithing to our respective church. I always say you want to try to save at least 5 to 10% above and beyond that to be able to put aside for your household for these reasons: job loss, car repairs, apartment or home improvement repairs, unexpected travel expenses, and healthcare expenses. Next slide, please. What should your savings goal be? You should save at least, at a minimum, 3 to 6 months of your household's essential expenses in what we define as an emergency fund. Household expenses: mortgage, rent, utilities, insurance, vehicle, and obviously groceries as well. Those essential expenses, if you can take care of those and have money set aside for at least 3 to 6 months, then if you happen to have an unexpected situation where you lose a job or you have lesser hours on your job, you can still move forward and with your household. But again, this 3 to 6 months is a minimum. Ideally, you want to look to have at least 12 months or greater, because again, let's suppose you had an unexpected expense that relates to your health care or travel expenses or home improvement. So you want to work towards having 12 months or more in reserve, but at a minimum 3 to 6 months of your core household essential expenses and an emergency fund in case you have job loss, thus emphasizing again the very critical importance of saving money. Next slide, please. Helpful budgeting and savings hints. On the left side, do your best to use coupons for everything. I'm not really good at this and going through the Sunday paper or going online to find coupons, but you do find if you take the time to cut them out and use them, those can save you some dollars. Avoid impulse buying and internet shopping. This is a big one for all of us, including me. When you are checking out at Target or Walmart or the grocery store, they have all those little things around you that cost $5, $10, $15, $20, and you end up just grabbing them and putting them in the cart. Well, now you're spending money that you really don't need to spend, because when you went into the store, you got what you came in the store for. Those impulse buys are there to get your attention, and you went in there planning to spend $100, you spend $175 because you're getting things you're going through the line. And the internet shopping. All of us love the Amazon 48-hour turnaround, and we know that any and every retailer has a website that you can go and shop. And spending time doing all that clicking, you look up and you spend way more than what you should. So again, adhering to your budget, sticking to your budget, and trying to not do a lot of internet surfing and shopping, because that can compromise your budget. For big purchases, get at least 3 different prices and evaluate for a few weeks. I know sometimes an emergency may occur and you have to get a washer and dryer, or you have to get go look for a vehicle. But ideally, what you want to do is on any big purchase like that, try to get a few different prices, do your research, consumer reports, etc., before you rush out and buy something, unless, of course, it is an emergency situation. On the right side, don't eat out as frequently. I'm bad about this because I'm single, so I'm on the move a lot and I have meetings in the evenings, but I'm trying to do better about preparing food at home, because eating out, that can add up and you end up exceeding your food budget by going out to eat so frequently. So being judicious with your dollars and responsible and trying to buy many of your groceries as you can be helpful to your household. Have money automatically transferred to your savings account on a monthly basis, as opposed to having to go on the app on your phone or go onto the computer and transfer the money yourself. Have money transferred automatically, whether it's $100, $200, $500, whatever amount can be helpful. But if it's already automatically transferred, you don't miss it. So within your budget, set up to have a certain amount of dollars transferred before you even have to go in and do it on your own. That's a great way to get accustomed to money being set to the side on a monthly basis. Again, the amount, whether it's $25, $50, $100, $200, just have something automatically transferred every month. You don't miss it. It's already in your savings account, and you're beginning to build those reserves up. Lastly, in this section, take advantage of any match savings programs with your employer, your 401k. Additionally, obviously, as you're blessed to save monies, visit with a financial planner and begin to invest in the stock market. And depending upon what your risk tolerance is, some of that's dependent on age. If you're 30, you can have a greater amount of risk tolerance and you'll put more money in the stock market to put into investments that may have a greater risk, but also a greater return. If you're blessed to be 55, 60 or older, you may have more conservative investments as it relates to mutual funds and the like. But as you have built reserves over the years, begin to look at investing in the stock market, because you don't want to just depend upon your 401k or your pension. You want to have built investments as you're going towards retirement as well. And I noted earlier that a lot of us work longer than we should have to based upon our age. And some of that is because not only do we have nothing in reserve, but we as a people don't invest in the stock market the way we should. So the earlier we can teach our kids, whether they be elementary, middle school, high school, college, let alone the adults that may be 45, 50, 55. It's never too late to get involved in the stock market. Again, your risk tolerance may vary based upon age, but put money in the stock market, build it, save it. That way you can be more prepared when it comes time for you to look at retiring. Next slide, please. We talked about this earlier, but I'm going to emphasize it again. On credit cards, And I answered the question about you only should have 2 credit cards at the most. And I note on this first section, you should only have a traditional Amex, Visa, MasterCard, and Discover. Only one of the two. Do not have all the credit cards that are tied to Home Depot, Best Buy, Dillard's, Macy's, any retailer. That's just going to compromise your credit, because inevitably, even if you don't use the credit card, as I noted earlier, it can weaken your credit score because you have available credit. And then when it's available, you are tempted. And especially this time of year with the holidays, you end up swiping that card in the store or online, and you run up your credit balances, which weakens your credit score. If you do need to use credit cards rather, and I noted earlier that credit cards can be valuable to use as it relates to big purchases, washers and dryers, etc. But if you do use your credit card for those types of larger purchases, you still want to work to pay off that balance on the washer and dryer within 6 to 12 months. Don't just make the minimum payment and pay all that interest for a year, 2, 3, 5-year period that some of us have done. If you do have to use a credit card, pay it off within 6 to 12 months, knock that out, get it down to a zero balance. One, so you can continue to improve your credit score, but 2, now you're paying lesser interest. And then 3, you have the credit available to you again in case of an emergency. So large purchases, be sure to pay down within 6 to 12 months. Next slide, please. That concludes the budgeting section. I'd be more than happy to take any questions on the budgeting section, or if there are any questions from the prior section that we had about understanding and knowing your credit. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Story. This has been exciting information. We do have a question from the earlier part. One question, it states, I am married. However, I am continuing to get credit approval in my maiden name. Should I be concerned about my name with the credit report?
No. I do know of situations where persons are married and they're still getting credit in the maiden name. That doesn't compromise you in any way. It's fine to do that. I will say the husband and the wife need to be in good communication as to what their respective credit reports have on them, because there will come a time that you may look to purchase a new home or refinance your home. And ideally, you want to do that as joint applicants, and you don't want to be blindsided. You go in and you apply for a mortgage. You didn't realize that your wife or husband had significantly more debt than what you thought, let alone they weren't paying it on time. So that is the more critical piece, communicated about your outstanding credit. But as far as applying for credit in your maiden name, that shouldn't affect you in any way.
Okay, sounds good. All right, one important question that I see here, what can a teenage 15 to 18-year-old do to jumpstart their credit? Is there any like youth credit programs that are around that that can teach our 15 to 18-year-olds how to, get slowly jumpstart their credit?
Okay. There isn't any way. Did I lose you? Are you still there,
We
Brother
still
Lee?
here. We're still
Okay.
here. We with you.
Okay. I don't recommend that any teenager get credit. You don't want to even think about that till you become 18 or older. This is the age where you want to learn about the importance of credit and how to use it wisely. That's why, independent of what we're doing today at the House of God Church, we also do a number of financial empowerment seminars at local public schools, going from elementary age all the way through high school, let alone in the local colleges, TSU, Fisk and Meharry, etc. It's more important at this point to know what not to do once you become an adult, i.e. once you go to college and you get all of these credit card applications in the mail and you send them back and you end up, you're not making a dime. You're just a student on student loans. Suddenly you got 10 grand in credit cards and you're traveling, buying entertainment stuff, etc. That's what gets you in trouble. It's better to wait till you're an adult and you actually are gainfully employed, whether you have a summer job, what have you, in college, and then go out. You can go out and get some small credit then. But when you're in high school or middle school, you should just be learning about the importance of being good stewards of your dollars and how to handle credit once you become an adult. But there aren't any ways for you to obtain credit, nor should you want to obtain credit. You should learn better how to use credit for your benefit once you become an adult.
Oh, that is great information. Just really quick before I get into the next question, we are going to extend time due to technical difficulties. So we have a
Sure.
few more questions to ask before we go ahead and wrap this session up. So,
I'm fine. I'm
all
fine,
right.
please. Yes, sir.
All right. So we have a question. Do payday loan or title loan companies report to the credit bureaus?
Yes, they do. And that can greatly compromise your credit report. As I noted earlier, once you borrow $200, $500 one time, and it's at 28% interest, and obviously that's difficult to pay back, inevitably the title loan company says, "Oh, that's fine. We'll just give you another loan to help pay that off, and we'll go forward." And that does goes to the credit bureau, and it greatly compromises your credit score for two reasons. One, the type of credit is viewed as riskier credit. If you recall from the earlier section, I know the types of credit can compromise your credit report. There's no worse type of credit than a payday loan or a title loan. Additionally, since they're so difficult to pay back in a timely manner, oftentimes you end up getting behind on them and get those 30, 60-day past dues. That weakens your credit report. And then unfortunately, I've seen on far too many occasions where, because someone is overwhelmed with those payday and title loan, they end up getting charged off and filing bankruptcy, which obviously greatly compromises your credit. So specifically, yes, it's reported to the credit bureau. And once you start down that road, it can be very challenging to come back. Not that you cannot, as I said earlier, time heals all things, but don't go down that road with the title loan companies. Ask friends, family, go to a credit counselor. Borrowing that $200 or $500 is not worth it, because that can set you back going forward for many years to come.
Great, great. Next question. Are insurance premiums directly related to our credit worthiness?
They are not. The insurance premiums are not tied to credit worthiness. It is strictly based upon just how the market changes with the age of your home, losses insurance companies may have had, etc. So the mortgage payments and what your mortgage payment may look like from a principal and interest standpoint, that's driven by your credit. But insurance premiums are independent of that. They have nothing to do with what your historical credit may have been.
Okay. All right. Let's see here. Okay. Do taxes play any role in the credit score?
They can. They can. As an example, if you are behind on your taxes and you end up setting up a payment plan on your taxes and you don't pay them on time, that can compromise your credit as well. So, but that's a situation where it only comes into play if, in fact, you don't adhere to the payment plan with your taxes. That could be reported on the credit bureau. What's interesting is the actual payment plan itself isn't impacted on your federal taxes. Again, unless it's something that's charged off and you don't pay it. Where it can come into play is if you have a business and your Department of Revenue taxes or payroll taxes and you're a sole proprietorship or a partnership, that could end up on your personal credit report. So if you do own a business and you're a sole proprietorship or partnership, and when you establish the business, you're the signer for the sales taxes and your payroll taxes, you don't pay those, that could end up on your credit report. Your IRS 1040 taxes that you pay individually, that doesn't go on your credit report unless you don't pay back the IRS. They have to start a collection effort. Then that can end up on your credit report at that point. Whereas on this side, with the payroll taxes and sales taxes, if you're a business, once you establish a payment plan, that ends up on your credit report. So for probably most persons here, if you're not a business owner, you don't need to worry about a tax payment plan ending up on your credit report, unless it's something that you don't pay in a timely manner, has to be charged off, and IRS is to come after you.
Okay. And IRS, they definitely will come after you.
Oh,
Definitely will.
And let me make one quick point, Brother Lee. The IRS does not email you. They don't call you. And a lot of times we end up providing information via phone or email because we think it's the IRS. The IRS only communicates, it's old school, but it comes through the mail. So any correspondence with the IRS, whether they are trying to send, or they need information from you, they're trying to set up a payment plan, it's all via mail. So don't ever get caught up in getting an email or a phone call and giving out your information, because that's somebody trying to take advantage of you. And that's somebody trying to compromise your credit, get your identity. IRS only communicates via hard copy mail.
That's true. That's true. Now I have one question. If I apply for a store credit card just for the discount and pay it off and never use it again, will that negatively affect my FICO score?
It will not. But here's where you can get in trouble. If you use, and I have this situation with my niece all the time, because I'll end up getting these little credit cards for her little place she likes to go. But I'm disciplined enough that if we use the credit card to get the discount and we spend $50, $100, because like after I finish here today, I'll go pick her up and we'll go out. Saturday is our day out. And she knows she has a little budget to work with, and we handle it from there. But I know once that bill comes, I pay it off within that 30-day period. So it's never going to really sit on my credit report. Where we get in trouble is the discipline of, once that bill comes, I can just put $5, $10 on that. I can pay that off down the line. And then you end up having the Best Buy credit card, the Bed Bath & Beyond credit card, the Ulta credit card, all of that. So if you have the discipline to get it paid off, to get the discount, that's great. But remember, those retailers know that the vast majority of their customers do not have the discipline to pay the credit card off once the bill comes in 30 days. They got you now. They know you're going to keep that credit card and have it out there for months and years to come. So if you have the discipline enough to do it, yes. But I contend, don't even put that pressure on yourself. Because who knows what may happen between today and January 1st, and you've had a situation come up in your household and you need some money for additional reasons, and you say, well, I can go ahead and pay that Macy's credit card next month. You'll never get it paid off. So I always say it's not worth, time is money, okay?
Yeah.
So getting the discount of 10%, if you sign up that day, it's not worth it. Just go ahead and pay for it with the monies that you have, with your debit card or cash. Keep it moving. Don't even get caught up in the discount, because they're trying to lure you in, and they know once they got you, they got you.
They got you. Yeah, we thank you for this question and answer period. We thank you, Mr. Story, for you taking time out on this Saturday to talk to us about your credit and also your budget. We definitely appreciate you.
Thank you. This has been a tremendous experience. We as a bank and I personally have a tremendous amount of passion about providing financial wisdom to our people in our community, and most specifically through our churches, because the church is where historically we've come to receive information, not just for spiritual guidance, but there's an inherent level of trust if the information is presented via the church. And so it's great to be here with you today, provide this information. And I welcome the opportunity to provide my information for persons to ask questions going forward. And I'll get with Deaconess Walker Carter and give my information. And if anybody wants to follow up with me with any further questions, I'd be more than happy to answer them. But thank you so much for your time. It's been a blessing.
All right, we definitely appreciate you. And again, as I stated before, this Vivid Vision series becomes better because of you.
Thank you.
We thank you for your time. God bless you too. All right. We want to thank Citizens Bank as our sponsor for this particular Vivid Vision series. We thank you for tuning in. As I stated before, this series have been great. The 3 Vivid Vision webinars that we had this year to end this year out has been awesome information for us to take back to our families, to our friends, to share with them. And going into 2022, listen, there are some great things happening. There are some great things being planned, so stay tuned to the Vivid Vision webinar series. Listen, thank you, everyone. We appreciate you being here with us. I want to leave you with this. Wisdom is the principal thing. Therefore, get wisdom, and with all thy get understanding. Thanks again for joining us today, and I want you to have a happy and safe holiday season. Until next time, we say thank you for joining us. We'll see you in 2022.